Hello and welcome, dear listener, to this quiet journey of science designed not to rush your mind into activity, but to soothe it into rest. I'm so glad you've drifted here tonight, perhaps after a long day of noise and obligations, or maybe because you simply enjoy letting your thoughts dissolve into gentle stories while your body grows heavy with sleep. However you arrived, this moment is for you. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go, only the softness of this moment. Your breath slowing, your muscles loosening, as if even gravity itself has decided to cradle you with tenderness. Tonight, instead of counting sheep or chasing scattered thoughts, we will wander into the vast and mysterious world of the human brain, the quiet organ inside your skull that holds every dream you've ever had, every memory, every spark of imagination. And as you listen, you may find that curiosity itself becomes a lullaby, guiding you toward a deeper state of calm. The human brain is astonishingly small when you think about it, weighing on average only about 3 pounds. Yet within that modest weight lies the most complex structure known in the universe, a forest of around 86 billion neurons, each branching and whispering to the others in electrical signals softer than the blink of an eye. Imagine that for a moment. Billions upon billions of tiny messengers, each one carrying flickers of information, weaving together every thought you've ever had. And here is the first sleepy fact to cradle your imagination. If you stretched out all the blood vessels inside the brain, they would measure more than 400 miles in length. Picture that now. Long winding paths extending beyond the horizon, wrapping gently around the Earth's surface, all contained within the space of your head. It is a reminder that even within smallness, there can be infinite depth. Another fact to settle gently into your thoughts: the brain, though it feels so intimately you, does not feel pain itself. Surgeons can touch it directly, and you would not sense a thing. That is because the brain has no pain receptors. What you experience as pain in your head, the ache of a headache, the sting of a migraine, does not come from the brain tissue, but from the muscles, blood vessels, and membranes around it. The very organ that registers every sensation, that knows when your skin is touched or when your heart quickens, sits in a silence of its own. Like a conductor who never hears its own orchestra, the brain listens to everything but itself. As you breathe slowly now, let your mind wander through another fact, one that sparkles like stars in the distance. Every second, your brain generates about 20 watts of electrical power. That is enough to power a dim light bulb, quietly glowing in the night. And yet this gentle bulb is alive, shifting, adapting, changing with every moment of your life. Your brain is not fixed, not a stone or a machine that wears down in one predictable path. It is plastic, capable of rewiring itself in response to experience, building new connections as old ones fade. Even tonight, as you listen, as your eyelids grow heavy, your brain is subtly reshaping itself. Sleep itself is part of that miracle, washing away waste, clearing out toxins, and strengthening the patterns you will rely on tomorrow. Here is another sleepy fact, one to hold like a smooth pebble in your palm. The brain consumes about 20% of all the energy your body uses, even though it is such a small part of your weight. That means in stillness, while your body rests, your brain is still burning quietly, like a fire that never goes out. It does not stop when you sleep. In fact, some parts of your brain can be even more active during dreaming than when you are awake. Every time you have drifted into a vivid dream, every time you've found yourself wandering through strange places at night, it was because your brain, in its silent fortress, was humming with electrical storms, mapping experiences onto imagination. And consider this: the folds of your brain, the soft ridges and valleys you may have seen in pictures, are what allows so much complexity to fit into so small a space. If the cortex, the outer layer of the brain, were unfolded and spread flat, it would cover about 2.5 square feet. That's roughly the size of a large dinner napkin, folded and tucked away within your skull. Imagine unfolding that napkin slowly, each crease revealing another surface of thought, another layer of memory, another quiet whisper of who you are. There are sleepy facts too about time, about the ways your brain shapes your sense of it. Did you know that your brain can process information at speeds up to 120 meters per second? That is faster than the blink of an eye, faster than you can even notice. And yet, it is the same organ that can stretch a moment into an eternity when you are afraid, or compress an hour into a fleeting instant when you are lost in joy. The brain is not just a recorder of time. It is a painter of time, stroking it into shapes that bend with experience. And perhaps one of the gentlest facts to carry with you as you drift tonight is that your brain is always forming new cells. For centuries, scientists believed neurons never regenerated, that the brain was set from early life and slowly decayed. But now we know that new neurons can form, especially in the hippocampus, the area of the brain that helps store memories and learning. That means every day, quietly and invisibly, your brain is refreshing itself, growing small seeds of renewal. Like a garden, it is never static, always in quiet bloom. So let yourself relax into this thought. Your brain, with its billions of cells, its rivers of blood, its sparks of electricity, is not only alive but always changing, always dreaming, always carrying you toward another tomorrow. And as you listen, you might notice your breath has slowed, your eyelids heavier, your body softer against the surface beneath you. That is no accident. Sleep is not an interruption of life, but part of it. It is the brain's nightly ritual of renewal, a gift it gives to itself and to you. Before we continue into deeper wonders of the brain, more of those 101 sleepy facts to lull you into rest, let me gently remind you, if you find these explorations comforting, if they help you drift into calm or spark just enough curiosity to guide you toward rest, I invite you to like this video, to leave a comment sharing that you too are fascinated by the mysteries of the mind, and to subscribe to the channel so that these journeys can reach more people who need them. And if you are watching on your television, you can simply lift your phone, point it toward the QR code on the screen, and subscribe with ease. It helps the channel grow, one sleepy soul at a time, and it keeps this quiet space alive for you to return to whenever you need. Now, let us continue, drifting deeper into the labyrinth of the human brain, where every fact is both a truth and a lullaby. Block 2. Memories, Dreams, and the Silent Work of Sleep. As you drift further into stillness, let us wander deeper into the brain's gentle labyrinth, this time into the realms of memory and dreams, where science becomes almost indistinguishable from poetry. Memory is not a single cabinet tucked away in the mind, where files sit waiting to be opened. It is a living, breathing process, constantly rewriting itself, adapting, softening edges, adding colors where perhaps none existed before. Your brain does not hold the past like a perfect photograph. It paints it each time you recall, with strokes of imagination and fragments of truth, so that remembering is itself a form of creation. And here lies our next sleepy fact. Every time you remember something, your brain subtly alters that memory. It is not the same as the moment you lived it. It has been reshaped by every recall, like sand shifted by each wave. The hippocampus, a curved structure deep inside the brain, is the gardener of your memories. It tends the soil where experiences take root, deciding which impressions will bloom into long-term recollection and which will fade like mist. If you have ever noticed how powerful emotion etches a moment permanently, the way joy, fear, or sorrow can sear an image into your mind, it is because the hippocampus works closely with the amygdala, the seat of emotional memory. They dance together, deciding what matters enough to carry into tomorrow. This is why you may forget the details of a casual day, but remember, in vivid clarity, the feeling of a childhood laugh the first time you fell in love, or the sound of a storm that shook your home. And here is another gentle truth. Your brain can store an estimated 2.5 petabytes of information. That is roughly the equivalent of 3 million hours of television. Imagine sitting in a quiet room, every wall lined with screens, each one playing a memory you have ever lived, every voice you have ever heard, every face that ever smiled at you. Your brain, though it forgets many things, has this potential, this boundless sea of storage woven not from silicon or machines, but from living cells and their delicate electrical whispers. Yet paradoxically, forgetting is as important as remembering. Another sleepy fact: your brain is constantly pruning away unused connections, like a gardener trimming excess branches so the whole tree can thrive. Without forgetting, you would drown in detail, unable to focus, unable to distinguish what is urgent from what is irrelevant. So forgetting is not failure, it is mercy. It is the brain's way of allowing you to move forward, lightened of unnecessary weight. And when night falls, when your body drifts toward rest as it does now, memory and sleep entwine in a secret pact. Sleep does not simply restore the body, it restores the mind, taking fragile impressions of the day and weaving them into stronger patterns. Studies show that while you sleep, the hippocampus replays your experiences, like a quiet rehearsal, strengthening the pathways you will use tomorrow. If you have ever studied late into the night and found the knowledge firmer the next morning, it is because your brain, while you slept, was carefully stitching that knowledge into permanence. Dreams, too, are part of this process. For many centuries, humans believed dreams were messages from the gods, visions of prophecy, or fragments of other worlds. And though science now frames them differently, they remain mysterious. One sleepy fact to soothe your imagination is that the average person spends about 6 years of their life dreaming. 6 years wandering in landscapes that do not exist, talking to people who may no longer live, revisiting places that have changed or disappeared. Dreams are rehearsals of emotion, the brain's theater where feelings are explored safely, where fears are softened and joys are relived. Another gentle fact: your brain is paralyzed during the deepest moments of dreaming. This condition, called REM atonia, keeps your body still so that you do not act out the dream. Imagine the grace of this system, keeping you safe as your mind wanders through impossible adventures. Your eyes flicker behind your lids, your breath shifts, your brain hums with activity as vivid as waking life. Yet your body remains calm, like a ship anchored in a storm. And yet, even as you rest, your dreams are shaping your memory. They help you solve problems, reorganize experiences, and even spark creativity. Many great ideas in history have surfaced in dreams. Scientists, artists, inventors waking with sudden clarity, the solution rising from the subconscious like dawn. Perhaps you, too, have dreamed something strange, only to realize later that it carried meaning, a hidden answer to a question your waking mind could not solve. Let us settle now into the rhythm of these facts. Memory is not a library, but a living forest. Forgetting is not weakness, but pruning. Dreams are not nonsense, but rehearsals of feeling. And the brain is both the keeper of your past and the sculptor of your future. As you breathe slowly, imagine your hippocampus quietly replaying today, strengthening the paths you will walk tomorrow, while pruning away what no longer serves you. Imagine your amygdala, like a candle flame, illuminating only the moments that matter most, giving them color and permanence. Imagine your dreams forming a bridge between what has been and what might be, carrying you gently forward. You may notice as you listen that the weight of your body has grown heavier, your thoughts more distant, like clouds dissolving into twilight. That is the natural effect of curiosity when it is slowed into calm, when science is told not as a lecture, but as a lullaby. You are safe here, drifting through the mystery of your own mind, the memories it carries, the dreams it shapes, the facts it holds like stars in the dark. And so, with these gentle truths, we continue our journey. One sleepy fact at a time, one quiet revelation after another, knowing that the brain, mysterious as it is, becomes even more wondrous when we learn of it slowly, in the hush of night. Block 3, Emotions and the Gentle Landscape of Consciousness. As we drift further into this quiet exploration, let us now enter the vast, delicate landscape of emotions and the shimmering surface of consciousness itself. If memory and dreams form the roots and branches of the mind, emotions are the colors that stain every leaf, the fragrance that fills the forest. They are not mere decorations but essential guides, shaping choices, sharpening memories, giving weight to experiences. Imagine life without them, cold, flat, mechanical, an endless stream of facts without the warmth of meaning. It is emotion that makes the sight of a sunset stir your heart, that makes a child's laughter echo like music, that makes sorrow hollow and joy radiant. And the sleepy fact to hold gently here is this: emotions are not vague clouds floating above the brain. They are physical processes orchestrated by structures deep within you, like the amygdala, the hypothalamus, and the insula, which glow with activity when you feel. The amygdala, small and almond-shaped, sits like a sentinel of the emotional world. It notices threats before your conscious mind does, setting your heart racing, sharpening your attention. Without it, fear would vanish, but so too would the deep urgency that protects you. Yet in its cooperation with the hippocampus, fear can also become memory, teaching you what to avoid, what to seek, what to cherish. And so even fear itself is not the enemy, but a careful teacher, one whose voice is loudest when silence might be dangerous. Another gentle truth: happiness too has its circuitry. The release of dopamine in pathways like the nucleus accumbens is what gives you the flutter of pleasure at a favorite song, the taste of sweetness, the glow of love. These are not illusions, but biology, and yet they feel like miracles, because no one experiences them the same way. Consciousness, the quiet awareness of self, is perhaps the most mysterious canvas the brain paints upon. Scientists still cannot fully explain it. How does matter give rise to the feeling of I? How does the firing of neurons become the awareness of the color blue, the recognition of your own reflection, the experience of love? One sleepy fact here is that consciousness does not reside in one place. It is not a single switch in the brain, but a symphony of regions playing together. The prefrontal cortex, the parietal lobes, the thalamus, all weaving the sense of presence, the feeling of being here, now. And within this symphony lies another wonder. Your consciousness may be only the tip of the iceberg. Much of what your brain does never reaches your awareness. Your breathing, your heartbeat, your balance, even many of your decisions, begin below the surface. Experiments show that the brain can prepare an action milliseconds before you become aware of choosing it. So your sense of will, your choice, is partly a story told by the conscious mind after the deeper brain has already moved. This does not make you less free. It makes you more mysterious, a being who lives not only in awareness, but in vast, unseen depths. Emotions themselves are layered into this mystery. For instance, sadness is not simply the absence of joy. It has its own pathways, its own purpose. Neuroscientists suggest sadness helps slow us down, conserve energy, reflect, seek help. Anger, too, though often feared, sharpens focus and galvanizes action. Even the quieter feelings, serenity, gratitude, awe, have signatures in the brain, unique networks of activity that give them their particular flavor. Another sleepy fact: awe, that shiver of wonder you feel under a starry sky or at the sound of a vast symphony, activates both the default mode network, which handles introspection, and the ventral striatum, linked to reward. In other words, awe is both self-reflective and pleasurable, making you feel small yet uplifted. Consider how emotions shape memory. Studies reveal that events tied to strong feelings are remembered more vividly and for longer than neutral ones. This is why you may recall where you were during significant events in history, or the details of personal milestones, even decades later. It is the brain's way of underlining, bolding, circling what mattered. And so, another gentle fact: without emotion, memory loses its depth. Patients with amygdala damage may recall events but without the color of significance, like black and white sketches without shading. Now let us return to consciousness. Imagine it as a lantern in a vast cave. The lantern illuminates only a small circle around you, while most of the cave lies in shadow. You see only what the lantern touches, yet the cave is filled with formations, streams, echoes, unseen presences. This is your brain. Conscious awareness is the lantern, but unconscious processes fill the cavern, guiding you silently. Some believe this is why meditation, deep rest, and even sleep can shift consciousness, because they allow the lantern to dim, so that whispers from the cave walls can be heard. And here is another fact to soothe you. When you feel emotions intensely, your body responds in synchrony. Fear quickens your pulse, anger warms your skin, love calms your breathing. This is not illusion, but the integration of body and mind, each feeding the other. Your consciousness floats in this tide, not separate but woven. Not a ghost in a machine, but a current in a river. So as you lie here listening, perhaps you notice emotions of your own arising. Maybe a soft nostalgia, a calm curiosity, a sense of peace. Let them be. The brain is always painting, always coloring your inner landscape. Consciousness is not meant to be controlled like a machine. It is meant to be experienced, to be drifted upon, as you are now, gently carried by these sleepy facts. And so Block 3 draws us deeper into the gentle truth that emotions are not flaws, but teachers, and consciousness is not a single flame, but a shifting glow, woven from countless sparks. Together they make life rich, memory meaningful, and even this moment, quiet, simple, drowsy, something to be felt, remembered, and cherished. Block 4, the brain's hidden rhythms and waves. The human brain is never silent. Even now, as you lie in stillness, as your breath slows and your eyes grow heavy, deep within your skull, countless currents of electricity rise and fall in gentle patterns. These are the brain's rhythms, its hidden waves, invisible yet constant, flowing like tides upon an unseen shore. For centuries, we did not know they existed, but today, with sensitive machines, scientists can observe them. Slow rolling waves during deep sleep, rapid fluttering rhythms when the mind is awake and alert, shifting pulses when you dream. Each state of consciousness has its own signature, like different pieces of music played upon the same instrument. Alpha waves, soft and steady, ripple across the brain when you are calm, awake but relaxed. The state you may feel now as you listen. Beta waves, quicker, dominate when your mind is engaged, focused on solving, analyzing, deciding. Theta waves, slower and deeper, arrive as you drift into drowsiness, guiding you towards sleep and imagination. And then there are delta waves, the slowest, vast and heavy, rolling across the brain in the deepest stages of rest. These delta waves are like the ocean at night, dark and immense, carrying you into the most restorative sleep when the body repairs itself and the mind clears away its clutter. One sleepy fact to carry gently here is that your brain cycles through these stages of waves several times each night. Sleep is not a single descent into darkness, but a rhythmic journey, spiraling down and up again, about 5 or 6 times before morning. In each cycle, dreams arise, memories consolidate, and the brain cleans itself through a process called the glymphatic system, flushing away waste products. It is as if every night the brain dips into a quiet river, washing itself clean before dawn. Another gentle truth: the waves of your brain are not only linked to sleep, but to creativity and insight. Many artists and thinkers describe flashes of inspiration in the borderland between wakefulness and dreams, when theta waves rise. The great mathematician Ramanujan said that solutions appeared to him in dreams. Thomas Edison used to hold metal balls in his hands as he sat in a chair. As he drifted towards sleep, the balls would fall, waking him just as his brain slipped into theta rhythm. And in that space he captured ideas. It is as though the brain's slower rhythms open doors that the busy waking mind cannot. And yet these waves are not confined to humans alone. Across the animal kingdom, brains hum with similar rhythms. Cats purr into sleep with their own delta waves. Birds, resting on branches, sink into theta rhythms. Even the tiny brain of a mouse shows the same hidden tides, suggesting that these waves are not accidents, but ancient, fundamental currents of life. Consider too how your brain waves can synchronize with the world around you. Gentle music, steady breathing, the flicker of a candle. These can guide the rhythms of the brain, slowing them into calm. This is why lullabies soothe children, why chanting can quiet the spirit, why the sound of waves at the shore makes you drowsy. Your brain is not isolated. It listens to rhythm everywhere, echoing what it hears. So as you listen now, your brain is already shifting, slipping gently from the alertness of beta into the calm of alpha, from alpha into the dreamlike borderland of theta, soon perhaps into the vast ocean of delta. You need not force it. It happens naturally, like the tide receding, like the night deepening. The sleepy fact here is that your brain is always ready for this descent, always prepared to cradle you in rhythms that restore and renew. And so we continue, knowing that within your head, hidden from sight, waves roll endlessly, shaping your thoughts, guiding your rest, carrying you toward dreams. These rhythms are not loud or demanding. They are soft whispers, like the breath of the sea, calling you gently into the quiet. Block 5. The brain and the senses, windows to the world. The brain does not live in silence or darkness, though it is sealed away within the skull. Every experience you have ever known, light, sound, touch, taste, scent, reaches the brain as streams of signals, translated into the language of neurons. The senses are not merely doors, they are windows through which the world paints itself upon the mind, each with its own palette, each with its own rhythm. And tonight, as you drift into rest, we will let these senses become lullabies, gentle stories told not to excite but to soothe, each one reminding you that even in stillness, your brain is a cathedral of perception. Begin with sight, the most dominant of the senses for many. Light enters the eye, striking the retina, where millions of photoreceptors, rods and cones, transform photons into electrical impulses. And yet, here lies a sleepy fact. You do not see with your eyes, you see with your brain. The eyes are instruments, but it is the visual cortex at the back of your head that interprets the patterns of light into shapes, colors, movement, and meaning. The world as you know it is not projected into your skull, but created within it. Even now, if you close your eyes, your brain continues to paint images, weaving dreams from memory and imagination, proving that vision is as much inner as it is outer. Hearing, too, is a miracle of translation. Tiny vibrations in the air ripple through your ear, shaking the smallest bones in your body, the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup, before reaching the cochlea, a spiral filled with fluid and hair cells. These cells bend and sway, converting vibration into electrical signals that your brain decodes as sound. Another gentle fact: your brain can distinguish more than 300,000 different tones and can detect differences in timing as precise as microseconds. This sensitivity is why music moves us, why a lullaby calms, why the sound of waves or rainfall soothes us into sleep. The brain listens not only with accuracy but with emotion, giving sound its meaning. Touch is perhaps the most grounding of senses. The skin, your largest organ, is filled with receptors that notice pressure, temperature, texture, and pain. But the sleepy fact to hold here is that touch is not only physical, it is emotional. A gentle caress releases oxytocin, the hormone of bonding, reducing stress and lowering the heart rate. The brain does not treat touch as mere data. It weaves it into comfort, safety, intimacy. Even the memory of a touch can calm the nervous system, reminding you of care long after the contact has ended. Taste and smell are closely tied to memory. When you taste sweetness, bitterness, salt, sourness, or umami, your brain links these signals with past experiences, shaping preference and emotion. Smell, even more strongly, bypasses many pathways and travels directly to the limbic system, the seat of memory and feeling. That is why the scent of rain, the aroma of baking bread, or the fragrance of flowers can transport you instantly to another time. Another sleepy fact: humans can detect over 1 trillion distinct smells, a capacity far greater than once believed. And each scent is like a key unlocking hidden rooms in your memory palace. Together, these senses create your reality. But the truth is softer still. What you call reality is your brain's best guess. The signals it receives are partial, often noisy, incomplete. The brain fills in gaps, smooths edges, paints illusions. You never see the full world, only the version your mind constructs for you. And yet this illusion is enough, rich and textured, guiding you gently through life. As you lie here now, you may notice sensations. The weight of the blanket, the sound of your breath, perhaps a faint scent in the air. Let them be reminders that your brain is quietly weaving the world even as you prepare to let it go for the night. The senses, busy in the day, can rest too as the brain turns inward, creating landscapes of dream. So let us continue, knowing that each sense is a window and the brain is the painter, turning signals into experience. And tonight those windows may slowly close, not into darkness, but into the soft glow of inner light where dreams begin. And before we move forward, let me gently remind you once again, if these explorations of the mind help you drift, consider leaving a comment to share your favorite sleepy fact so far, or pressing like, or subscribing so others may find their way here too. If you are watching on a television, you can simply point your phone at the QR code on the screen to join our growing circle. Each small gesture helps this calm space remain alive, one sleepy listener at a time. Block 6, the brain's balance between logic and creativity. Inside the quiet folds of your brain lives a gentle balance, a dance between reason and imagination, between calculation and creativity. These are not enemies, though we often speak of them as opposites. They are partners, weaving together the tapestry of thought, allowing you to solve problems, tell stories, build bridges, and dream impossible dreams. As you listen now, let us drift into this delicate interplay, where logic sharpens edges and creativity softens them, where analysis gives structure and imagination fills it with color. On one side lies the prefrontal cortex, the seat of planning, logic, decision-making. It is the part of your brain that helps you organize, that calculates, that weighs possibilities. Without it, life would be chaos, a stream of impulses without structure. And yet logic alone is a skeleton without flesh, a blueprint without a house. On the other side lie the more diffuse networks of creativity, stretching across the brain, connecting the frontal lobes, the temporal lobes, and the default mode network, that wandering pattern of thought that comes alive when you daydream. Together, they form the spark of invention, the ability to imagine what is not, and then bring it into being. Here is a sleepy fact. When you are deeply focused on a task, logical circuits dominate, filtering distractions and narrowing attention. But when you let your mind wander, when you stare out a window, walk quietly, or drift into drowsiness, your brain lights up in different ways, allowing distant regions to connect, to form unexpected associations. This is why many insights arrive not in moments of strain, but in moments of relaxation, in the shower, on a walk, just before sleep. The brain balances between order and drift, and in that balance, creativity blooms. Another gentle truth: both hemispheres of the brain participate in logic and creativity. The old story that the left brain is logical and the right brain creative is a simplification. In truth, both sides contribute, though in different ways. Language often arises more strongly in the left hemisphere, while spatial awareness and metaphor lean toward the right. But creativity, like logic, is a whole brain experience, requiring communication across the corpus callosum, the great bridge of fibers that links both halves. Imagine it now, millions of messages crossing back and forth every second, carrying numbers and images, symbols and feelings, weaving them into a whole. Consider music. When you listen to a song, your brain does not only process pitch and rhythm. It analyzes structure with logic, while also feeling the emotion, imagining images, stirring memory. Creativity and logic intertwine here, inseparable. Another sleepy fact: playing an instrument engages more areas of the brain than almost any other activity, uniting planning, movement, emotion, and imagination into one seamless flow. And yet, even in silence, the brain is creating. When you dream, it builds entire worlds without effort. When you imagine, it rehearses possibilities as real as if they were happening. Logic might tell you what is, but creativity whispers what could be. And in the gentle landscape of the brain, both are necessary. Without logic, creativity drifts without anchor. Without creativity, logic builds without meaning. Together, they form the balance that makes you human. As you rest, your own brain is perhaps shifting between these modes. The structured rhythm of these words may calm the logical circuits, while the imagery of neurons as rivers, memories as gardens, dreams as theaters awakens the creative. You are not choosing one or the other, you are both simultaneously, a being of structure and imagination, calculation and wonder. So let yourself sink into this truth. Within your skull, two great forces flow, not in opposition, but in harmony. Logic gives you clarity, creativity gives you beauty. Both together give you life. And as sleep comes closer, perhaps your logic fades and your creativity grows, filling your dreams with stories your waking mind could never plan. In this balance, there is peace. Block 7. Memory palaces and the brain's architecture of imagination. Close your eyes and picture a palace, not one of stone or marble, but one built entirely within your mind, a structure that expands with every memory, every image, every fragment of thought. This is what ancient philosophers called the memory palace, a method of holding information by mapping it onto imagined rooms and corridors. But the true palace is your brain itself, an intricate architecture where imagination and recollection are not separate wings, but adjoining halls. As you drift here in the quiet, let us walk slowly through this inner palace, tracing the ways your brain weaves memory and imagination together. A sleepy fact to begin with. When you imagine something vividly, the same parts of the brain activate as when you actually see or hear it. If you close your eyes and picture a candle flickering in the dark, your visual cortex responds almost as if the candle were real. If you imagine music, your auditory cortex hums with activity. Imagination is rehearsal, and in a way, it is indistinguishable from perception. This is why athletes visualize performances to improve, why rehearsing in the mind strengthens skills, why daydreams feel so tangible. The hippocampus, guardian of memory, also serves as an architect of imagination. When you recall a place you have visited or dream up one you have not, the same networks are involved. Memory and imagination overlap, like two rivers merging. Another gentle truth: patients with damage to the hippocampus not only lose the ability to form new memories, but also struggle to imagine the future. Without memory, imagination falters, because both draw from the same foundation. And so, the memory palace is not only a trick of ancient scholars, but a reflection of how the brain truly works. When you walk through an imagined hall, placing facts on pedestals or stories in rooms, you are using the brain's natural strength, its ability to bind ideas to places, to map thought onto space. This is why you can recall the layout of your childhood home in detail, or why retracing physical steps helps you remember forgotten tasks. Space and memory are woven together in the parietal and hippocampal regions, making every remembered life a palace of its own. Another sleepy fact: imagination itself has no limit. Your brain can invent colors that do not exist, creatures never seen, worlds without physics. And though you may not always hold these creations in waking life, during dreams they spill forth easily, reminding you of the brain's hidden canvas. Even in silence, even in sleep, imagination hums, building landscapes from fragments, piecing together castles from clouds. Consider how children play. A cardboard box becomes a ship, a blanket becomes a mountain, a shadow becomes a monster or a friend. This power of imagination is not lost with age. It only hides beneath the weight of reason. But in moments of rest, in daydreams and in stories like this, it resurfaces, reminding you that the palace within is always open. And here is another gentle truth: imagination is not only fanciful, it helps you plan, prepare, and empathize. When you picture another's pain or joy, your brain uses imagination to mirror their experience, allowing compassion. When you rehearse tomorrow's task, you are walking through an imagined corridor, preparing the mind. The palace is not a distraction but a tool, guiding you into the future. So let yourself drift now, wandering your own memory palace. Perhaps you recall a hallway from long ago, a childhood room, a path you once walked. Perhaps you imagine new corridors, lit by lanterns, lined with shelves of memory. Each step, each room, is both recollection and invention, proof that your brain is both archivist and architect. And as you rest here, remember this sleepy fact: within your skull, imagination and memory share the same foundation. To remember is to imagine. To imagine is to remember. The palace you walk is infinite, its halls endless, its doors always open. And tonight, as sleep deepens, you may find yourself wandering there, guided not by effort but by the quiet currents of the mind. Block 8. The brain's language of patterns and symbols. The brain is, above all else, a maker of patterns. Every sensation you receive, every word you speak, every sound you hear, is woven into a fabric of meaning through the recognition of repeated shapes, rhythms, and symbols. It begins in infancy, when the first sounds of language reach your ears and your brain, without effort, begins to sort them into categories, to notice where one word ends and another begins. And it continues through life, as you read letters on a page, recognize a friend's face, follow the rhythm of a song. Each of these is a miracle of pattern recognition, quiet and automatic, turning chaos into sense. Tonight, let us wander through this language of the brain, a language that precedes speech deeper than words, carried in waves of neurons whispering together. A sleepy fact to hold gently here is that your brain has specialized regions devoted to processing symbols and patterns. The fusiform gyrus helps you recognize faces, lighting up when you see someone familiar. The Broca's and Wernicke's areas orchestrate speech, helping you form and understand words. But here is the wonder. Even when you read silently, your brain activates auditory regions, as if it were hearing the words. To read is to listen with the eyes. To write is to speak with the hand. Consider music. The brain responds to rhythm with extraordinary precision. When you hear a beat, neurons fire in synchrony, locking onto the pattern. This is why you can tap your foot without thinking, why lullabies calm, why chants and mantras can draw the mind into trance. Another gentle truth: the brain does not only hear music, it predicts it. It anticipates the next note, the next pause, the next rise, and when those expectations are met, or gently broken, the brain releases pleasure. Music is both mathematics and magic, structure and surprise, logic and emotion woven into sound. Symbols too stretch beyond language and music. A cross, a circle, a spiral, shapes that carry meaning without words, reach deep into the brain. They trigger networks older than speech, connecting to memory and emotion. This is why symbols endure across cultures, why certain images stir feelings beyond explanation. Another sleepy fact: the human brain is so attuned to patterns that it finds them even where none exist. This is called pareidolia, the tendency to see faces in clouds, animals in shadows, meaning in randomness. It is not a flaw, but a reflection of the brain's hunger for connection, its need to weave order from the unknown. Language itself is one of the brain's greatest achievements. From mere sounds, the brain builds worlds. You speak, and vibrations in the air carry symbols that another brain receives, interprets, and turns into meaning. No machine rivals this elegance. Every conversation is a bridge, every word a thread pulled from one mind into another. And yet, it feels effortless. The sleepy truth here is that speaking a sentence involves more than half of your brain's regions, working together in milliseconds. A chorus of neurons performing in harmony. And let us not forget the patterns of silence, the pauses between words, the gaps in music, the spaces in symbols. These too are part of the brain's language. Silence shapes meaning as much as sound, absence as much as presence. This is why a pause can deepen suspense, why stillness can carry power, why the quiet between heartbeats feels sacred. As you lie here now, your brain is quietly searching for patterns in these very words, predicting the next sentence, weaving symbols into a story. And in doing so, it is not only listening, but creating. Every pattern recognized becomes part of you, stitched into memory, layered with emotion. So drift with this thought. The brain speaks in patterns, in rhythms, in symbols. It hears language in silence, music in numbers, meaning in shapes. And tonight, as you sink deeper into calm, these patterns may dissolve into dreams, where language becomes image, music becomes color, and symbols unfold into landscapes beyond words. Block 9. Time, perception, and the brain's inner clock. Time, as we live it, is not an external river rushing past us, but an experience woven by the brain. The ticking of a clock is real, the rising and setting of the sun is certain, yet the way time feels, long or short, fleeting or eternal, belongs entirely to the quiet workings of the mind. Tonight, as you settle deeper into calm, let us drift through the brain's inner clock, the hidden rhythms that make seconds stretch, that compress hours into moments, that allow memory to transform the past and imagination to sculpt the future. A sleepy fact to hold here is that your brain does not measure time with one single clock. Instead, countless circuits keep time in different ways. The basal ganglia help track intervals, the cerebellum guides rhythms, and the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a cluster of cells in the hypothalamus, sets the circadian rhythm, tuning your body to the cycle of day and night. This tiny cluster, only about 20,000 neurons, dictates when you feel awake, when you grow drowsy, when hormones rise and fall, when the body prepares for sleep. It listens to light using the eyes as messengers and tells your brain and body what hour it is. Without it, time would blur, days would lose shape, sleep would dissolve into chaos. And yet the perception of time is more fluid than these cycles suggest. Another gentle truth: the brain stretches time when emotion intensifies. In moments of fear, milliseconds feel longer. In moments of wonder, minutes disappear. This is not illusion, but survival. When danger strikes, the amygdala sharpens perception, so every detail is remembered, and time feels slow. When joy or curiosity fills you, dopamine alters attention, and time seems to fly. You have lived these contrasts, the endlessness of waiting, the brevity of laughter, the way childhood summers felt eternal, while adult years slip past like breath. Dreams, too, reshape time. In a few minutes of REM sleep, entire stories unfold. Long adventures lived in the span of heartbeats. The brain compresses and expands, unconstrained by clocks. And memory, that painter of the past, edits time with its own brush. Some years vanish into a blur, others remain detailed because the brain chooses what mattered. A sleepy fact here: your sense of how long your life has been is not based on years but on memories. The more new experiences you gather, the fuller time feels. This is why childhood seems vast, because every moment is discovery. As novelty fades, years seem shorter, not because time has changed, but because the brain marks fewer milestones. The brain also predicts time. Even before you hear a rhythm, neurons anticipate the next beat, allowing you to dance, to tap your foot, to sing in harmony. Without this inner clock, music would be noise, speech would be jumbled, steps would falter. Another gentle truth: your brain constantly predicts the future, not just in seconds but in broader stretches, imagining outcomes, rehearsing possibilities, preparing you to meet what comes. And consider how time bends in states of flow, when attention is so absorbed that hours vanish unnoticed. This merging of awareness and action, studied by psychologists, reveals the brain's ability to dissolve the clock entirely. When you are fully immersed, painting, running, listening, even drifting into stories like this, the frontal lobes quiet, self-awareness softens, and time disappears. It is not lost, it is transcended. Even now, as you listen, you may notice the sense of minutes fading. The steady rhythm of these words, the imagery unfolding slowly, may make time feel less sharp, more fluid. That is the brain's gift. It can soften time into timelessness, carrying you towards sleep. So let yourself rest in this truth. Time is not an unyielding force pressing upon you. It is a gentle fabric woven by your brain, stretching and folding, expanding and compressing, shaping the flow of life into experiences. Tonight, as you lie here, your inner clock will slow. Your rhythms will align with rest, and time itself may dissolve into the quiet of dreams. Block 10. The brain in rest, healing, renewal, and the quiet power of sleep. The brain is tireless, always alive with sparks and whispers, always weaving perception and thought, yet it is during rest that its most profound work takes place. Sleep is not absence, but presence. Not a void, but a vital theater where the brain repairs, reorganizes, and renews. Tonight, as you allow yourself to sink deeper into calm, let us wander through the quiet power of rest, exploring how the brain heals itself when the body is still. One gentle truth to cradle is that sleep is not a single state but a cycle, flowing through stages again and again, like waves upon a shore. As you drift into the first stages, your brain slows its rhythms, preparing for the descent. Then in the deeper stages, delta waves roll through, heavy and slow, carrying with them a cleansing tide. During these stages, cells clear away waste, synapses reset, and the architecture of memory is quietly reinforced. Another fact, whispered in this silence, is that the glymphatic system, a hidden network that clears toxins from the brain, becomes almost 10 times more active in deep sleep. It is as if every night, the brain bathes itself, washing away the debris of thought so that you may wake renewed. Dream sleep, or REM, is just as vital. Here the brain is anything but quiet. Its activity mirrors wakefulness, weaving dreams that are both strange and meaningful. Emotional centers flare, connecting with memory, helping you process what you have felt, what you have lived. This is why dreams often carry fragments of the day, stitched into surreal stories. Sleep does not only heal the body, it heals the heart, helping you carry less weight into tomorrow. And consider this: while you rest, the brain strengthens learning. Skills practiced in the day are consolidated at night. A musician remembers melodies more clearly. A student recalls details more sharply. A child learns faster. Even problem-solving blooms in sleep. How many times have you gone to bed troubled and awoken with clarity? It is not magic, but biology. The brain working as you dream, organizing, rehearsing, preparing you for dawn. Another gentle truth is that the immune system and the brain are intertwined during rest. As you sleep, your body releases cytokines, molecules that fight infection and reduce stress. Your brain too supports this harmony, regulating the immune system's rhythm. Without sleep, you are more vulnerable, not only to illness but to fogginess of thought, to the weariness that clouds joy. Sleep is not indulgence but necessity, a medicine written into the fabric of life. And yet, even in silence, sleep is creative. The dreaming brain makes connections it cannot in wakefulness, linking distant ideas, blending fragments into new shapes. This is why artists and scientists alike speak of inspiration born in dreams. Your resting brain is not idle. It is a quiet workshop, lanterns burning in hidden rooms, inventing without effort. So let yourself rest in this thought. The brain is never more generous than when it sleeps. In wakefulness, it spends. In rest, it restores. And each night is an invitation to renewal, a reminder that healing is built into the rhythm of life. Before we continue further into these gentle explorations, let me pause here with a soft reminder. If these journeys bring you peace, if they help you drift into sleep or simply give you calm in a restless world, I invite you to like this video, to share your thoughts in a comment, perhaps telling us your favorite fact so far. and to subscribe so that these sleepy voyages may reach others who need them. And if you are watching on a television, you can simply lift your phone, point it at the QR code on the screen, and join our growing circle with ease. Every gesture, every click, helps this calm space remain alive, one listener at a time. Now, as we leave this pause and drift deeper, carry with you the gentle truth that your brain, in rest, is not sleeping through life. It is preparing you for it, healing you, renewing you, and carrying you toward another dawn. Block 11. The social brain, connection, empathy, and the need for others. The brain, though it feels contained within the solitude of the skull, is not built for isolation. From the beginning of life, it reaches outward, seeking voices, faces, gestures, bonds. Connection is not decoration, it is survival. Every laugh shared, every hand held, every word spoken across silence becomes part of the neural architecture that makes us who we are. Tonight, as you sink more deeply into calm, let us drift through the social brain, the networks that bind us to one another, shaping emotion, empathy, and the quiet need for belonging. A sleepy fact to hold gently: human infants are born with brains that are unfinished, waiting to be completed by interaction. A child's neural pathways bloom through the presence of caregivers, through touch, eye contact, and soothing sounds. Without this, the architecture falters. This truth reveals something profound. Our brains are designed to grow in relationship, not in solitude. Every smile, every word, every embrace leaves an imprint, like gentle chisels carving the sculpture of the mind. Mirror neurons add another layer of wonder. These cells, discovered in the premotor cortex, fire not only when you act, but when you observe another acting. When you see someone smile, your brain lights as though you smiled. When you watch someone in pain, your brain responds as if you felt it. This is the quiet basis of empathy, the way we share experience without words. Another gentle truth: empathy is not an abstract ideal, but a physical resonance, a harmony between nervous systems. And consider language, not only as symbols and sounds, but as connection itself. The brain releases oxytocin during conversation, the same chemical that bonds mothers to children, lovers to lovers, friends to friends. A simple exchange of words is a chemical act of trust, shaping circuits of belonging. Even silence shared with another can steady the heartbeat, calm the amygdala, quiet the restless mind. The social brain also thrives on recognition. A sleepy fact: when you hear your own name, your brain reacts more strongly than to almost any other sound, lighting up in regions tied to self and attention. This is why a name spoken gently can feel like a caress, why recognition itself is healing. The brain longs not only for company, but to be seen, to be known. Isolation, by contrast, leaves its imprint. Studies show that loneliness alters brain chemistry, raising stress hormones, impairing memory, even changing the perception of pain. The brain in solitude is not broken, but it strains like a tree reaching for sunlight. Connection is nourishment, and without it, the mind hungers. And yet connection need not always be grand. Even fleeting bonds, an exchange of glances with a stranger, a shared laugh at a coincidence, a nod in agreement, light up the brain's social circuits. These moments remind us that we are part of something larger, threads in a woven fabric. Another truth: storytelling itself is a social act. When you listen to these words now, your brain's rhythms may sync with the imagined voice reading them. Studies show that listeners' brain activity can mirror that of speakers, as if thoughts were crossing the air directly. This is why stories comfort, why lullabies soothe, why the sound of a human voice is unlike any other stimulus. It is not just information, it is communion. So let yourself rest in this knowledge. Your brain is not alone, even when you are. It carries within it the traces of every bond you have formed, every word spoken to you, every hand that has steadied yours. It is a social organ, designed for empathy, connection, belonging. And even in sleep, these bonds remain, shaping dreams, softening fears, weaving comfort into the night. Block 12, the brain and emotions chemistry. Hormones, neurotransmitters, and the inner symphony. Deep within the folds of your brain, beneath the layers of thought and memory, lies a chemical symphony, a constant dance of molecules flowing from cell to cell, carrying feelings as invisible messengers. Emotions may feel like waves of the heart, sudden and mysterious, but they are also the quiet work of neurotransmitters and hormones, shaping your moods, guiding your desires, softening or sharpening every experience. Tonight, as you breathe more slowly, let us wander into this hidden orchestra, listening to the chemicals that hum beneath awareness, tuning the brain into harmony or dissonance. A gentle fact to hold here is that dopamine, often called the molecule of reward, is released when you anticipate pleasure, not only when you receive it. It sparks motivation, drives curiosity, helps you reach for goals. But it is not simply the source of joy. It is the flicker of anticipation, the gentle push that keeps you moving forward. Imagine it as a lantern in the dark, drawing you toward what might bring delight. Serotonin, by contrast, is like a steady current, shaping mood, stabilizing the mind. Higher levels bring calm, contentment, resilience. When serotonin dips, shadows of sadness may rise, reminding us of its quiet importance. Sleep, sunlight, movement, and even connection with others nurtures serotonin's flow. A reminder that the brain's chemistry is not fixed, but responsive to the rhythms of life. Oxytocin, the so-called bonding hormone, deserves a place in this lullaby as well. It surges during moments of trust and closeness, during a hug, a kind word, even the gentle presence of someone who listens. Oxytocin calms fear, lowers blood pressure, softens the amygdala's alarms. It is the chemistry of belonging, proof that the brain is wired for connection, not isolation. And then there is norepinephrine, sharp and alert, flooding the brain when attention is needed. It heightens awareness, sharpens focus, quickens response. Without it, the mind would drift. With it, survival is ensured. Yet too much, for too long, frays the system, leaving restlessness. The balance is delicate, reminding us that each chemical is not good or bad, but part of a harmony that must be tuned. A sleepy fact to soothe your thoughts is that these neurotransmitters are not confined to the brain alone. The gut, often called the second brain, produces much of the body's serotonin, communicating through the vagus nerve with the mind above. This quiet dialogue between stomach and skull shapes mood, appetite, even dreams. It is why stress can twist the stomach and why comfort can ease it. Endorphins, too, play their part, rising in moments of laughter, exercise, or even tears. They soothe pain, brighten mood, bring warmth to the body. And let us not forget melatonin, the hormone of darkness, rising with nightfall, guiding the body toward rest. Each evening, as the world dims, melatonin whispers to your brain that sleep is near, drawing you into the cycle of renewal. Together, these chemicals form not a single song, but a shifting orchestra, each instrument rising or falling, blending into the symphony of emotion. You are not merely a thinker, but a listener, carried by melodies of dopamine and serotonin, oxytocin and endorphins, norepinephrine and melatonin. And though invisible, they shape every color of your life, from the laughter that brightens to the calm that lulls, from the fear that warns to the love that heals. As you rest here, Know that your brain is always adjusting this chemistry, tuning its orchestra to your needs, balancing tension with calm, wakefulness with rest, isolation with belonging. And tonight, as sleep draws closer, melatonin has already begun its quiet song, leading you deeper, guiding you gently into the rhythm of dreams. Block 13, the brain's energy, glucose, oxygen, and the fire within. The brain, though small in size, is an organ of immense appetite. Within its 3 pounds of tissue, a constant fire burns, consuming fuel with unrelenting demand. It is a paradox. Though the brain accounts for only about 2% of body weight, it consumes about 20% of the body's energy. Even in silence, even in sleep, it hungers, drawing in oxygen, glucose, and nutrients, keeping its billions of neurons alive and humming. Tonight, let us drift into the hidden furnace of the brain, the quiet fire that sustains every thought, every dream, every breath. A sleepy fact to begin: the brain has no storehouse for energy. Unlike muscles, which can stockpile fuel, the brain depends on a constant flow of glucose from the bloodstream. A few minutes without it, and neurons falter. A few minutes without oxygen, and networks begin to die. This fragility is not weakness, but a reminder of its living immediacy. The brain is not a machine with reserves. It is a flame that must be fed continuously, each moment nourished by the body's river of blood. Every heartbeat is part of this story. With each pulse, oxygen-rich blood surges through arteries, feeding networks that never rest. The brain alone receives about 15% of the body's cardiac output, even though it is so small. And here lies another gentle truth. When you breathe deeply, slowly, you are not only calming the mind, you are enriching it, sending more oxygen upward, soothing neurons into steadier rhythms. This is why meditation slows the heart, why breathing brings peace. The brain listens to the breath, and the breath in turn steadies the brain. Glucose, too, is vital. Each neuron, tiny as it is, requires constant fuel to fire its messages. Without it, signals weaken, thoughts blur, consciousness dims. This is why long fasts or sharp drops in blood sugar bring dizziness, confusion, sometimes even fainting. The brain does not tolerate famine well because it is always burning, always alive. And yet, it adapts. Another sleepy fact: when glucose runs low, the brain can turn to ketones, alternative fuels derived from fat. This is why fasting or ketogenic states alter awareness, why monks and seekers sometimes describe clarity and hunger. The brain is burning a different fire, slower, steadier. Oxygen, meanwhile, fuels every spark. Hemoglobin in the blood ferries it upward, releasing it in the tiniest capillaries where neurons wait. Without oxygen, even for seconds, the brain cries out. But with it, life glows. Consider how a single breath, unnoticed most of the time, sustains this vast organ. You inhale, air enters the lungs, molecules bind to hemoglobin, ride the bloodstream upward, and within moments, your brain cells are nourished. The chain is constant, every second of your life. And as you lie here breathing, you are feeding the brain's fire, moment by moment. The energy of the brain is not only fuel, but rhythm. Neurons fire in patterns, electrical charges carried along membranes, powered by the flow of ions. Sodium, potassium, calcium, chloride, all moving in waves, all demanding energy to be pumped, balanced, restored. This invisible chemistry consumes much of the brain's energy budget. You do not feel it, but within you, billions of tiny pumps work tirelessly, restoring balance after each spark, resetting the neuron for the next whisper of thought. Another gentle fact: though the brain burns energy endlessly, it is remarkably efficient. A computer the size of a city cannot match the brain's processing power, yet the brain runs on the energy of a dim light bulb. 20 watts, quietly glowing, sustaining imagination, emotion, memory. The efficiency is breathtaking. You are carrying a miracle lantern inside your skull, one that never extinguishes until life itself departs. And yet the brain is careful. In moments of scarcity, it knows where to send its energy. Critical regions are prioritized. Less urgent processes dim. This is why exhaustion clouds memory, why prolonged stress narrows thought. The brain conserves, focusing on survival when fuel runs thin. It is a reminder of its wisdom, balancing abundance with limitation. So as you rest here now, breathing softly, let yourself imagine the hidden fire within your skull. Every breath feeds it, every heartbeat sustains it, every molecule of glucose keeps its light glowing. You are alive because this fire burns, small and silent, but unyielding. And tonight, as sleep deepens, the fire does not go out. It softens, slows, conserving fuel, but it always burns, carrying you safely through the night. Block 14. The brain and the body. Conversations through nerves and hormones. Though the brain feels like a world unto itself, sealed within the vault of the skull, it is never alone. Every heartbeat, every breath, every sensation of warmth or cold, every flicker of hunger or calm is part of a conversation between the brain and the body. They are not two separate realms, but one continuous exchange, linked by nerves, hormones, and rhythms that bind thought to flesh. Tonight, as your body grows heavier against the surface beneath you, let us drift through this hidden dialogue, this constant communication that keeps you alive, balanced, and whole. A gentle fact to hold is that the brain communicates with the body through more than 80 billion nerve fibers, stretching like roots and branches in every direction. These fibers form the nervous system, carrying signals at speeds that can reach over 200 miles per hour. A thought of movement becomes action, a brush of touch becomes sensation, a danger detected in the environment becomes a surge of preparation in the heart. The body listens to the brain, and the brain listens back, in endless loops of whisper and reply. The autonomic nervous system is one of the quietest yet most vital of these networks. It operates beneath awareness, guiding heartbeat, breathing, digestion, and countless other processes. It has two great branches: the sympathetic, which readies you for action, quickening pulse and sharpening senses, and the parasympathetic, which restores, slowing the heart, deepening breath, easing the body into calm. They are not enemies, but partners, keeping balance between action and rest. Tonight, as you drift into parasympathetic calm, your brain is guiding your body into stillness, reminding every cell that it is safe to let go. Another sleepy truth: hormones carry messages just as nerves do, though slower, traveling through the bloodstream instead of fibers. The hypothalamus, a small but powerful structure, links the brain to the endocrine system, sending instructions to glands throughout the body. When stress rises, the hypothalamus triggers the release of cortisol, preparing you for challenge. When calm returns, it signals for balance, lowering tension. When darkness falls, it whispers to the pineal gland to release melatonin, guiding sleep. Each hormone is a message in a bottle, carried by the blood, shaping the state of body and mind alike. Consider the vagus nerve, a wandering thread that stretches from the brainstem down through chest and abdomen, touching heart, lungs, stomach. It carries not only commands downward but signals upward, letting the brain know how the body feels. Another gentle fact: stimulating the vagus nerve through deep breathing or humming can calm the heart, ease anxiety, and bring the body into harmony. It is a reminder that breath is not only life, it is conversation, a bridge between thought and flesh. And there is more. The brain releases endorphins that soothe pain, adrenaline that quickens strength, oxytocin that deepens connection. Muscles send feedback, skin signals temperature, gut bacteria even influence mood. Science now shows that the microbiome in your intestines communicates with the brain through hormones and nerves, shaping stress, emotion, even thought. The brain and body are not separate. They are partners in a single seamless system. So as you lie here, heavy with rest, remember this: your brain and body are always speaking. The calm you feel in your limbs is mirrored in your mind. The quiet rhythm of your heart feeds back to neurons above. The slowing of breath signals safety, allowing sleep. Each sensation is part of a larger harmony, a symphony of messages whispered back and forth. Rest then, in the knowledge that you are not divided but whole. Brain and body, thought and flesh, nerves and hormones, all part of one continuous self, always in conversation, always guiding you gently toward balance. And tonight, as you sink deeper into sleep, that dialogue continues, quiet and unseen, carrying you safely through the night. Block 15. The brain's lifelong growth, plasticity, learning, and renewal. For much of history, scientists believed the brain was fixed, like a machine built early in life, and left to rust slowly with age. But now we know the truth is gentler, more hopeful, more alive. The brain is plastic. It changes, adapts, reshapes itself across every stage of life. It is not a stone but a river, carving new channels, shifting its banks, flowing in directions guided by experience, practice, even thought itself. Tonight, as you rest, let us drift into this river of plasticity, into the quiet power of renewal that the brain carries from the first day until the last. A sleepy fact to cradle here is that every experience you have leaves a trace. Neurons fire together, and when they do, they grow stronger connections, a truth summed up in the phrase, cells that fire together, wire together. This means that every skill practiced, every memory recalled, every thought repeated deepens its path in the brain, making it easier the next time. Learning is not an abstract idea, but a physical change, a strengthening of synapses, a building of new networks. And this plasticity does not end in childhood. Even in later years, the brain forms new connections. Older adults can learn new languages, pick up instruments, remember new faces. Though it may take more patience, the ability remains, a reminder that growth is lifelong. Another gentle truth: new neurons themselves can form, particularly in the hippocampus, where memory and learning dwell. Each day, seeds of renewal are planted, even in maturity, proof that the brain never ceases to bloom. Consider recovery after injury. When one area of the brain is damaged, other regions can sometimes adapt, taking over lost functions. Patients relearn speech, movement, skills once thought gone forever. The brain reorganizes, finding new paths, proving its resilience. It is like a forest regrowing after fire, tender shoots rising where once there was ash. Learning itself is built on this plasticity. Each time you practice, synapses strengthen. Each time you neglect a skill, pathways weaken. This pruning is not loss, but balance, clearing space for what is needed most. Just as a gardener trims so flowers may thrive, the brain prunes so that learning may be efficient. Forgetting in this light is not failure but a form of growth, making room for what serves. Another sleepy fact: imagination and practice can both shape the brain. Studies show that rehearsing a task mentally activates many of the same circuits as performing it physically. Athletes who visualize movements improve nearly as much as those who train, because the brain cannot always distinguish between the real and the imagined. In this way, your thoughts themselves sculpt your brain, carving grooves even without action. And there is more. The environment around you influences growth. Novelty sparks plasticity. New places, new challenges, new sounds keep the brain alert and adaptable. Curiosity, too, is fuel, drawing attention, strengthening memory. The more you wonder, the more your brain changes. This means that at every stage of life, curiosity is youth, keeping the brain supple and alive. Even sleep contributes to this renewal. During rest, the brain consolidates what was learned, strengthening useful connections, trimming away excess, preparing you for another day of growth. Each night is not only healing but learning, a quiet tutor working in your dreams. So as you lie here, imagine your brain not as fixed but as flowing. Neurons reaching toward each other like branches, forming new paths, new bridges, new gardens. Learning is not reserved for the young, but gifted to all, so long as breath remains. You are not finished, not fixed. You are always changing, always growing, always capable of renewal. And tonight, as you drift into sleep, your brain is at work, reshaping, pruning, strengthening. Tomorrow you will wake subtly different than you were today, carrying traces of these words, echoes of these facts, seeds of new paths. This is the gift of plasticity, that every day, every night, the brain is new. Block 16. The brain's protective shields, bones, blood, and barriers. Though the brain is delicate, soft as custard, more fragile than the organs it commands, it is never defenseless. Nature has wrapped it in layers of protection, like a precious jewel guarded by stone, fluid, and invisible barriers. Tonight, as you drift deeper into rest, let us wander through these shields, the guardians that keep the brain safe, so that its quiet work may continue unharmed. The first protection is the skull itself, a bony fortress shaped across millions of years of evolution. Hard and curved, it shields against blows, enclosing the brain in a vault that is both armor and cradle. Yet bone is not the only defense. Beneath it lie three membranes: the meninges, the dura mater, tough and leathery, the arachnoid, delicate and web-like, and the pia mater, a thin layer clinging gently to the surface of the brain. Together they form a triple veil, guarding against injury, holding the brain in place and cushioning it against shocks. Another gentle truth: floating within this space is cerebrospinal fluid, a clear liquid that bathes the brain and spinal cord. It acts as both cushion and cleanser, absorbing impacts, carrying away waste, delivering nutrients. Without it, the brain would sag under its own weight. Suspended in this liquid, it floats lightly, as if gravity's pull were eased, reminding us that protection can be softness as well as strength. But the most remarkable shield is invisible: the blood-brain barrier. This selective wall, formed by cells lining the brain's blood vessels, allows in what nourishes, oxygen, glucose, certain amino acids, while keeping out toxins, pathogens, and harmful chemicals. It is a vigilant guardian, filtering every drop that enters, ensuring that the delicate symphony of neurons is not disturbed by intrusion. And yet, it is not absolute. Some molecules, like caffeine, slip through, quickening alertness. Others, like alcohol, pass as well, altering thought. The barrier is selective, not impenetrable, a reminder that safety and openness are always in balance. A sleepy fact to soothe you is that the brain devotes much of its energy simply to defense. Immune cells, called microglia, patrol constantly, clearing debris, fighting infection, pruning synapses to keep networks healthy. They are gardeners and guardians both, ensuring that neurons thrive in safe soil. Even in sleep, these tiny sentinels are at work, maintaining the brain's hidden gardens. The spinal cord, too, joins this protection, carrying signals up and down, wrapped in vertebrae, cushioned by the same fluid that cradles the brain. The whole central nervous system is one protected river, flowing within bones and membranes, held safe so that thought, memory, and imagination can flourish. Consider how fragile the brain appears, yet how enduring it is. Across years of life, it withstands countless shocks, infections, and insults, shielded by this fortress of bone, fluid, and barrier. Protection is not absolute. Injury and illness can still reach it. But without these defenses, life would be far more precarious. Each shield is a gift of evolution, a reminder of the brain's preciousness. So as you lie here now, safe in your own quiet space, remember that your brain, too, is safe within its vault, floating in fluid, guarded by barriers, cared for by vigilant sentinels. It is never alone, never unprotected. And tonight, as you rest, these shields continue their work silently, holding you, cradling you, allowing the brain's hidden fires to burn in peace. Block 17, the brain's lifespan from infancy to old age. From the first flutter of life in the womb to the final breath of age, the brain journeys through transformations more profound than any other organ. It begins as a cluster of cells, a fragile spark dividing and shaping, and becomes the theater of thought, memory, and identity. Tonight, as you let your own brain soften into rest, let us drift through its lifespan from the innocence of infancy to the wisdom of old age, each stage carrying mysteries and sleepy truths. A gentle fact to begin. In the womb, neurons multiply at astonishing speed, sometimes up to 250,000 every minute. By the time a child is born, billions of neurons are already in place, waiting to connect, like stars awaiting constellations. At birth, the brain is about 1/4 the size of an adult's, yet it holds more potential than any library, any machine. Growth comes not from adding more neurons, but from weaving connections, billions upon billions, as the infant reaches, listens, and learns. In early childhood, the brain is a flood of plasticity. Pathways form rapidly, experiences etching deep grooves, languages absorbed like music, memories shaped with vivid clarity. A child may forget details, but the architecture built by play, touch, and wonder lays the foundation for life. Another sleepy truth: young brains are not just smaller versions of adult brains. They are more active, more alive, using nearly twice as much energy as adult brains. Childhood is a blaze of neural activity, a firework display that gradually focuses into steady glow. Adolescence brings its own transformation. The brain prunes connections, keeping what is useful, trimming what is not. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for judgment and planning, matures slowly, which is why teenage years often feel turbulent. Emotions amplified, risks taken, creativity ablaze. It is not chaos but construction, the scaffolding of adult thought being built. In these years, the brain is both fragile and powerful, a reminder that growth is rarely smooth but always purposeful. Adulthood brings balance. Neural pathways settle, expertise deepens, memory strengthens with repetition. The brain becomes more efficient, less explosive but more precise, like a river that has carved its course. Creativity does not vanish, it changes, drawing on experience, weaving wisdom with imagination. Another gentle fact: vocabulary often peaks in midlife, and problem-solving abilities remain strong, proof that growth continues, even as energy slows. And then comes age, the later chapters of the brain's story. Neurons may diminish, networks may weaken, memory may falter, yet not all fades. Emotional regulation often improves, empathy deepens, wisdom grows. Older brains are not less, they are different, shaped by a lifetime of patterns. Another truth: the aging brain can still grow new neurons, particularly in the hippocampus. Renewal continues, though slower, like a garden blooming in autumn. Consider the stories carried by an old brain. Every joy, every sorrow, every face, every song leaves its trace. Though details may blur, the essence remains, layered into character, into presence. And even in the twilight of life, the brain continues its quiet work, shaping dreams, guiding breath, holding the self until the final moment. So as you lie here tonight, know that your brain too is on this journey. Whatever stage you inhabit, it is alive with growth, pruning, renewal. From the sparks of infancy to the wisdom of age, the brain never ceases to change, never ceases to carry you forward. It is both ancient and new, fragile and strong, a river flowing until it joins the sea. Block 18, the brain and the elements, silence, music, and the spaces between. The brain is not only a receiver of signals or a keeper of memories. It is also a sculptor of sound and silence, a composer of music and of the spaces that give music its depth. Even now, as you listen to these words, your brain is not just decoding language. It is hearing rhythm, pauses, and tones, shaping them into meaning that is both logical and emotional. Tonight, as we drift together, let us wander into this interplay between sound and stillness, between melody and the silence that holds it, discovering how the brain turns vibrations into experience. A gentle fact to hold here: the auditory cortex, nestled in the temporal lobe, does not only process the sounds you hear, but anticipates what comes next. This predictive power is what makes rhythm possible. When you tap your foot to music, when you feel the beat before it lands, it is because your brain has already mapped the timing, filling the silence with expectation. Without this gift, music would not flow. It would fall apart into noise. But the brain also cherishes silence. Studies show that silence itself can calm the nervous system, lowering blood pressure, slowing heart rate, allowing neurons to reset. In quiet moments, the brain's default mode network awakens, weaving memory, imagination, and reflection. Another sleepy truth: just 2 minutes of silence can be more restorative for the brain than gentle music, proof that absence can be as nourishing as presence. Consider how music stirs emotion. The brain releases dopamine when you listen to a favorite song, not only at the climax but in anticipation, when tension builds and resolves. This is why certain melodies bring shivers, why harmonies lift the heart. The auditory cortex works with the limbic system, linking sound to feeling, weaving vibrations into joy, nostalgia, longing. Music is not merely heard, it is felt, painted across the emotional landscape of the brain. And yet, silence has its own music. In stillness, you may notice the rhythm of your breath, the faint beat of your heart, the hum of thought itself. The brain, deprived of sound, begins to listen inward, tuning to subtler frequencies. Some describe hearing inner music, tones, or whispers, as the auditory system reaches for patterns in the absence of stimulation. It is not madness but sensitivity, the brain's hunger for rhythm finding it even in quiet. Another gentle fact: when groups sing or chant together, their brain waves can synchronize, aligning rhythms across individuals. This resonance fosters unity, a sense of belonging deeper than words. The brain does not only hear, it connects, turning sound into communion. And consider dreams, where music sometimes appears. The brain, even in sleep, composes melodies never heard before, stitching them from fragments of memory. Composers through history have awoken with tunes gifted by dreams, as though the brain, freed from waking order, becomes its own musician. Silence, too, can be dreamlike. In deep sleep, when external sound fades, the brain rests in its own quiet symphony, rhythms of waves rising and falling, neurons humming gently. It is music without notes, silence filled with hidden harmony. So let yourself drift into this truth. Your brain is both an instrument and an audience, both a composer and a listener. It turns sound into meaning, silence into peace, music into emotion, stillness into reflection. And tonight, as you rest, it will continue its work, whether in dream melodies or in silence deeper than sound. Block 19, the brain surrender. States of stillness and the threshold of sleep. There comes a point in every night when the brain, after its endless weaving of thoughts, memories, and sensations, begins to soften its grip. Awareness loosens, the edges of consciousness blur, and the great orchestra of neurons shifts into a gentler rhythm. This is the threshold of sleep, the surrender of the waking mind to the deeper currents beneath. Tonight, as you listen, you may feel yourself nearing that threshold, guided by the quiet cadence of words, by the slow tide of breath, by the natural pull into stillness. A gentle truth to hold here is that the moments just before sleep are unique. This state, called hypnagogia, is not fully wakefulness and not yet dream. It is a borderland where the brain hums with fragments, flashes of imagery, snippets of memory, whispers of imagination. Many artists and thinkers have lingered in this twilight, finding inspiration in its strange clarity. But for most of us, it is simply a soft passage, the gentle hallway that leads into rest. During this surrender, the brain begins to quiet its sensory gates. The thalamus, which relays signals from the outside world, reduces its activity, letting fewer impressions pass. External sound fades, vision dissolves, touch softens. The world outside becomes distant, and the world within begins to glow. It is not a shutting down, but a turning inward, a reminder that consciousness has many rooms, and sleep is simply another chamber. Another sleepy fact. The brain waves of this state shift into theta, slow and dreamy, rolling gently like distant surf. These waves soothe, connecting regions of the brain in patterns different from waking life. In this rhythm, imagination grows vivid, but effort dissolves. You may notice thoughts wandering without direction, images appearing without control, feelings rising without reason. This is the brain's surrender, still active, but softer, more fluid, more free. And then comes the final letting go. Muscles relax, breath steadies, awareness slips away. The prefrontal cortex, seat of judgment and planning, quiets first, releasing you from the weight of analysis. The limbic system, keeper of emotion, remains alive, ready to color your dreams. Slowly, the entire system surrenders, not to nothingness, but to sleep's deeper order. Consider how remarkable this surrender is. Every night, without effort, you trust the brain to carry you safely into hours of unconsciousness. The heart continues to beat, the lungs continue to draw breath, the immune system repairs, the brain cleans itself, all while you disappear, slipping into dreams. This trust is ancient, built into every living creature. Even animals surrender to sleep, trusting the rhythm of nature. Another gentle truth. Surrendering to sleep is not weakness, but strength. It is the brain's greatest act of wisdom, knowing when to release control, when to let healing flow. In this threshold, there is peace, a quiet reminder that not everything must be held, that sometimes the truest renewal comes from letting go. So as you lie here, perhaps already floating in and out of awareness, let yourself embrace this surrender. The brain does not need you to command it. It knows what to do. The threshold awaits, the door is open, and beyond it lies the deep ocean of rest, carrying you toward renewal. Block 20, the endless wonder of the brain, a final reflection. As our journey reaches its quiet conclusion, let us linger for a moment in awe at what we have been exploring together. For many minutes, perhaps even hours, we have drifted through corridors of knowledge, touched gently upon hidden rhythms, wandered through landscapes of memory, emotion, energy, and silence. And yet, even after all of this, the brain itself remains an ocean too vast to chart, too deep to measure. No single map can hold it. No single description can capture it. It is both intimate and infinite, both fragile and eternal, both the keeper of your past and the sculptor of your future. Let yourself imagine now the stillness within your skull, a quiet cathedral, alive with sparks that never rest, billions of neurons glowing and fading like constellations in a night sky. Each neuron tiny, delicate, a thread of thought. Each one reaching for others, stretching across synapses, whispering in languages older than words. Together, they form a universe of connections, a cosmos contained in silence. A sleepy fact to cradle gently here is that these connections, though small, are nearly countless. The possible combinations of firing patterns in your brain outnumber the stars in the observable universe. That means that within you lies not just a mirror of the cosmos, but something even vaster. You are, in your quiet way, more infinite than the heavens above. And consider what this means, that every dream you have ever had, every story you have ever told, every face you have ever remembered is stored in some form in this hidden cosmos. It does not matter if memories blur, if names are forgotten, if details slip away. The essence remains woven into the fibers of the brain, layered into its architecture. You are the sum of all your experiences, but you are also more, because the brain is always growing, always renewing, always changing. It is not a museum, but a river. The waters of today are not the same as yesterday's, and yet the river continues, carrying you forward. Another truth, soft and profound, is that the brain is never truly alone. It is linked to your body, listening to every heartbeat, to every breath, to every sensation in the skin. It is linked to others, resonating with their emotions, mirroring their actions, feeling their joys and sorrows. And it is linked to the world itself, tuned to light and darkness, to rhythm and silence, to cycles of time. You are not an isolated spark, but part of an immense web, your brain both a mirror and a participant in the life that surrounds you. And still deeper lies mystery. How does matter give rise to awareness? How does a tangle of cells, electric and chemical, produce love, awe, sorrow, wonder? Science can describe processes, can map regions, can measure waves. But the spark of consciousness, the feeling of being alive, the sense of I, remains unexplained. Perhaps it always will. Perhaps the brain is not only a machine, but also a doorway, a threshold into mystery itself. To rest in this thought is not to seek answers, but to accept wonder. Let us expand this reflection even more, for the brain is not only the organ of thought, it is the cradle of imagination. It invents worlds unseen, paints landscapes unreal, creates music unheard before. When you dream, you are witness to this creativity, worlds forming and dissolving in moments. When you imagine, you are rehearsing futures, sculpting possibilities. The brain does not merely react to the world, it builds it. Every perception you have is constructed within. You do not see reality as it is, you see it as your brain makes it. And yet that construction is enough, rich, layered, textured, carrying you safely through the days. As you rest now, the brain is already shifting. Awareness dims, rhythm slow. Neurons release their hold on the day. Soon, if not already, you will drift into sleep, where the brain will continue its hidden work, clearing waste, strengthening memories, calming emotions, planting seeds of creativity. Sleep is not an interruption but a gift, the nightly renewal that keeps you alive. Another sleepy fact to comfort you. Even if you forget everything said here, even if words dissolve into dreams, your brain has already changed simply by listening. Synapses have shifted, pathways have been touched. You are not the same as you were when you began. And perhaps that is the greatest truth of all, that the brain is never finished. From the first moment of life to the last, it grows, adapts, learns, changes. It is always new, always different, always alive. Each day you wake with a brain slightly altered by the day before, slightly prepared for the day ahead. In this way, you are always becoming, never static, never final. Now let the words slow. Let silence gather. The journey has been long, but rest is longer. Your brain, mysterious and magnificent, is ready to carry you through the night, through dreams, through renewal. Trust it. You need not command it. You need only let go, surrendering to the rhythms built into your very being. Before we close, let me gently remind you one last time. If this exploration has brought you peace, if it has helped you unwind or guided you into rest, I invite you to like this video, to leave a comment sharing the sleepy fact that touched you most, and to subscribe so that others may also discover this quiet refuge. And if you are watching on your television, you can simply lift your phone, point it toward the QR code on the screen, and join our growing circle. Each small gesture helps keep this sanctuary alive, one sleepy listener at a time. Now allow everything to fade, the words, the thoughts, the day behind you. Let the stillness deepen. Let your body grow heavy. Let your breath slow to the rhythm of waves. The brain, your quiet companion, is already guiding you into dreams, carrying you into the ocean of sleep where healing, renewal, and wonder continue unseen. Drift there, safe, held, at peace. The journey is over, but the mystery remains, and it will remain as long as you live, a gentle lantern glowing in the dark, an endless wonder without end.